It occurred to me that almost a year into this channel, I haven't really done a roughie yet. So that changes today. I've got my raincoat on, that's important. Got some darker glasses. Let's go to the grindhouse. Welcome to Exploitation Reviews, and me, Rob. Today I'm taking a look at The Touch of Her Flesh from 1967. A roughie, by the way, is a sex film that explores some of the darker sides of sex. The nudie cuties, and we've seen plenty of them on this channel, are pretty lighthearted. They're basically fun comedies. A roughie is not a comedy. This is a film that explores things like S&M, bondage, some fetishes of the darker variety, like debasement, torture, even rape, and in this film in particular, murder. Yeah, that's that's pretty rough. This film, The Touch of Her Flesh, comes to us from a married couple that made films together, Michael and Roberta Findlay. They made a number of films throughout their career, and this one was their first sort of breakout hit. The Touch of Her Flesh came out in 1967, and it went on to spawn 2 sequels. Pretty uncommon for a film like this. So, what was the secret that made The Touch of Her Flesh so successful? Well, lots of beautiful murdered women. Because of how explicit this movie is, I'm probably not going to be able to show you very much of it here on YouTube. And I apologize for that, but, this isn't my website. We start off with some really cool and creative opening titles. They project them onto a naked body. According to IMDb, this is actually Roberta Findlay. And yeah, I can't show you too much of it, but they're pretty cool. I guess it looks like they used maybe an overhead projector and then kind of moved it a bit. It's really awesome. I love it. Alright, and then we get to the story. The director, Michael Findlay, he plays the main character, Richard, and one day, on the way to a business trip, he realizes he forgot his speech, so he goes back to the apartment, and he finds his wife in bed with another man. Seeing this, of course, is upsetting, and distraught, he runs out of the apartment into the city and is hit by a car. He wakes up in the hospital, and the doctor informs him that he's lost an eye and he's paralyzed from the waist down. This paralysis, though, is temporary, he hopes. Richard goes to an apartment. They don't explain whose apartment this is or how he got it, or, forget about looking too deeply for plot in a movie like this. He's got an apartment, he's drinking a lot, and he's still very angry, and he decides it's time to get some revenge. Well, revenge isn't exactly the right word, because he doesn't just blame his wife for the infidelity, he blames all beautiful women. And so he starts watching and then killing dancers and strippers and prostitutes, all the while trying to gather some information and work up the requisite rage needed to kill his wife. And yeah, that's pretty much the plot of the movie, so that's enough out of me as far as plot goes. Let's talk some highlights. This film has a really cool visual style. Yeah, it's dark and it's gritty and it just drips with sleaze, but damn if it doesn't look cool. Roberta Findlay was a cinematographer, and she really put some thought into some interesting compositions. The compositions are, of course, helped by the fact that the women in this movie are absolutely gorgeous. Amazingly beautiful. Amazingly. And during some of the dance scenes, the music's pretty cool too. Some of it sounds familiar, so I better not play any of it here on YouTube, because I'm sure their AI will pick up on what it is and tell me I'm not allowed to use it. One interesting thing about this film is it's basically a slasher. Before slashers existed. We've got this killer with some sexual hang-ups, and he's targeting beautiful women, and he even watches them for a while, and, it is kind of like a POV shot, and then we get some pretty creative kills. I don't want to spoil the kills for you too much, but, you know, there's a scimitar and a crossbow, and yeah, I mean, it's not gory, there's a little bit of blood, but yeah, it's basically a slasher film. Of course, you know, what we think of as modern slashers, that'll come later, but there were some important precursors. You know, probably the most important is Psycho in 1960. Also, 1960 was the year that Peeping Tom came out, and both of these have elements that'll be picked up later by slasher films. And of course, the Italians were inspired by Hitchcock, and, you know, people like Mario Bava made some giallo films, which are also basically slashers, like Mario Bava's Blood and Black Lace that came out in 1964. And yeah, these are all important parts of the story. Interestingly, I don't believe anyone has ever really examined roughies as part of the slasher story, and I'm not quite sure why. A lot of the elements from the slashers that will come at the end of the 70s are here in The Touch of Her Flesh in 1967. That's more than a decade before Halloween, but it is a few years after Hitchcock and Bava. So there's that. So yeah, we've got some amazingly beautiful women, some pretty interesting kills, a kind of interesting slasher villain, but the movie is not perfect. Like a short stripper having fun with a tale of some sort, this film does have some shortcomings. Well, modern audiences might find this film to be a touch slow. There's very minimal dialogue here. It's just enough to move the plot forward and no more. The film spends a lot of its time during the watching phases. They're rather long-winded. Most of the runtime of this film is women taking their clothes off and women dancing naked. So if watching women take their clothes off and dance naked sounds boring to you, maybe skip this one. But if you think it's fun to watch a strip show, this is your movie. And if you think it's fun to watch some murder, this is definitely your movie. The film's pretty short anyway. I think it's an hour and 14 minutes, hour and 11 minutes. It's an easy watch. And of course, many people will probably consider this film to be pretty misogynistic. I mean, the killer, you know, he internalizes that rage he has for his wife and then turns it towards all women, or at least all the beautiful ones. So, yeah, that's pretty misogynistic, I guess. Although, he's the bad guy, so I don't know. I mean, do we think Halloween is misogynistic? I mean, Michael, he targets some babysitters. I don't know. It's up to you. But it's probably misogynistic. Sure, let's be honest. So yeah, I don't really know if I recommend this film. I know it's not for everyone. Personally, I really rather like it. So, you know, if you're like me and you want a little bit of the history of roughies and you like black and white movies with lots of just drop-dead gorgeous women, then yeah, on my hit scale, this is an easy buy. But if you're not interested in building a collection of these things, I would still recommend streaming it. It's only a little bit over an hour. You can do that. It's an important film. Historically, an important film. At least to people like us.